Back to ECTV Live, and we are here. Boy, David the Cosmo, my co-host. We have a show today that excites me for two reasons. One, Austin Burke, who's our guest today, David the Cosmo, is a lifelong friend of mine. Actually, we grew up together. We've been friends since our early days. And secondly, he has some of his personal artwork here, David, that is wonderful, and it's got great accolades all over Northeast Pennsylvania. Actually, all over the country, people have been talking about this. So, David, you're responsible for Austin being here, so let me give you credit.
Well, I thank you. It just occurred to me that Austin is really very well known throughout the state, but I think that most people, when they hear his name, would automatically think about the Greater Scranton Chamber of Commerce first. He heads of the chamber, and of course, people have seen the success in and around the city of Wilkes-Barre, so that is certainly something that he can be, Scranton. Well, you're certainly known down as far as Wilkes-Barre, Luzerne County, and Monroe. They know you.
We think regional anymore, David.
Exactly,
We're
and
regional.
you have to.
That's right.
You have to think
That's
regional.
right.
But again, most people would associate you first with the chamber.
Yeah, that's true.
And I don't know that they would think of you quite as much as an area artist, and yet you are an area artist. I first came across your artwork while doing a story in your office. I think I remarked on something I'd seen there, one particular painting. Gee, I was so impressed. Where did you get that? He said, I painted it. Well, this man has some great artistic talent, and we thought it appropriate today to talk about some of what he has done, why he has done it, and how it is being used, actually in a sense, in one sense, to further the chamber's aims, I suppose. Indeed. And so the obvious first question is, how did you get started in doing any kind of artwork?
Well, I've always enjoyed art, and I've taken art appreciation courses up at Keystone College, and always visiting museums when I'm in other towns. But what really happened is a number of years ago, we were up in Vermont at a ski area and went into this little store which sold tourist stuff and everything else. They had some great posters of that particular area. I came back to Scranton, went through all the stores, and you couldn't find anything that said Scranton. And so at the time, there was a nationally known artist, Gretchen Dow Simpson, who just did wonderful, wonderful work. She's still painting. She's up on Block Island right now. And we had her do some original artwork that showed Scranton buildings, showed our neighborhoods, showed the outlying areas, a farm, a dairy farm out in the county. Anyway, that went over tremendously. It was very well accepted in the community. As a matter of fact, we ended up selling Scranton posters through the Harvard Co-op. They call it the Coop, and they were featured in Macy's, the basement store of Macy's. So that seemed like a decent start. Then someone mentioned, you know, we have great old buildings here in Scranton, but a lot of times you have to look up above the first floor to see the really beautiful ornamentation and the other items that are worked into the building. And so I decided at the time, and I was painting at the time, that I wanted to do a series, and it was called Scranton, Looking Up. And it's worked. Since then, the reaction has been terrific. People see buildings that they recognize and can relate to, and that makes it accepted. And then we went on from there and I started painting some of the community celebrations. I'd like to show you some of them. But let me start with some of the buildings, if that's all right with you.
Absolutely. And apparently we do have a lot to offer from the standpoint of things that are worth seeing.
Oh, yes. When we get visitors to this area, it could be the Broadway Theater League actors coming in from New York, or it could be executives coming in from London, and they look at the beautiful buildings they have and they say, this is tremendous. We're tired of seeing steel and glass and kind of just anonymous types of buildings that you see that were built since the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Our buildings from the turn of the century kind of the real height of American architecture have been preserved, and I think that's why people like them so much. They're also approachable buildings.
They are, and I do want to say, Austin, as I said before, I know him all my life, and he's such a soft-spoken person. He's a great leader in our community. And when I found out that he was starting to do some art, David, and I can tell you this about Austin, I was interested myself in, because one of the, he's painted a beautiful, we have what we call in Jessup the Race of the Saints, St. Ubaldo race, and Austin did a piece on that. It was phenomenal. Austin, maybe you
Sure.
could show that first to the
Sure.
people. I have that, and it is so nice.
This is
Explain that,
This
Austin.
is the San Ubaldo race. It's a great celebration. A lot of community spirit up in Jessup. Had a lot of fun with it. We have the three saints on their platforms. This is the Festa de Chieri.
Festa de Chieri.
The San Ubaldo race. But I also had a little bit of fun, Tom. I painted my brother Francis in
Yeah.
as one of the lead
Yes.
carriers. Senator Bob Mello, Jim Mello, and another bunch of Jessup guys
Right,
are
right.
in that building. But I try to capture the excitement, if you would, of that. Now, I did another painting, and let me say that I don't sell any of the works, but I will donate them as fundraisers. And so this second painting here, this is La Festa Italiana. It's downtown Scranton. And again, trying to capture the great conviviality of the Italian festival. And Unico wanted to raise some money for its scholarship funds. So what I did is I painted Karen Clifford into it, Bob Petnato, Chris DiMatteo, because I knew it would be auctioned off. And indeed, Chris DiMatteo and Bob Petnato got involved in a bidding contest, and we ended up raising more than $2,000 for Unico. And the funniest part was a little bit later, Bob Petnato, seeing me, says, "Austin, you cost me a lot of money today."
I do want to say one thing, David.
Yeah.
Chris DiMatteo is going to be sworn in as president of Unico National.
That's right. That's
Very
right.
soon.
And you
If I-
see
if I
Columbus.
may ask,
Yeah.
how do you start? And then let's take the Italian festival, since that
Yeah.
one is what we're watching right now. Do you take a photograph of that, and
Actually-
immediately paint in oil, or?
No, I actually take a number of photographs, and this particular photograph is from this angle, picks up the courthouse here, picks up the Electric City building. You see City Hall in the background, but the La Festa sign, which is kind of a signature of the whole thing, wasn't there. So I had another picture of the sign, and I figured out where I could work that in. The Columbus statue, of course, in downtown Scranton, very well known, and so I kind of moved that around to get it in the painting. So I've taken a lot of artistic license with these things. But essentially, I start with photographs, I sketch it out, and then I go ahead and paint it from
So
there.
you do a sketch in pen or pencil?
Yes, you start with pencil, and let me see what I can find here,
This
because
is fascinating, especially
I have
for
a
someone like
couple-
me who has very little artistic talent, to be
Well,
able to see how these are.
I'll join your statement. I don't have to say anymore. I don't have any. Who's that,
Well,
Austin?
first, you got to practice a lot. Here's ears and noses. This is my son Tim, and it's just a sketch of him. So you start with some sketches.
Let me see that.
Then, when it's an important painting, and
Before
I've
you
done,
get to that, let me ask you, Austin. They say painting a face of somebody is so much harder than painting
Oh,
a
yeah.
building.
the painting a face, you know the people, that there's the personality to come through. Some of the paintings of buildings are really like engineering exercises. This becomes more of an artistic thing where you have to
Let me hold it up for
get
you one
into,
second. And
into
again,
that.
you say on the first thing you do is you actually practice
Ears,
Ears,
noses.
fingers are always something I understand that's hard
Fingers
to.
are very difficult. Fingers and hands are perhaps as difficult as faces to do, because it's the expression that you're trying to get.
And of course, it's not only a matter of the contours you're talking about, but you've also got to get shadow in there to represent depth, so that you've got the perception of some depth in.
Sure, you're taking a three-dimensional object and you're trying to put it realistically into 2 dimensions. That's why you need those shadows to
Sure.
achieve that depth.
Now, you did these, and then you actually did the sketch of your son.
Yes.
Now, how long would something like this take?
Oh, that probably took a few hours to do. You know, there's a lot of steps to it. You sketch it out lightly, and then you erase where it's not working, and you go back and do others, and it takes a while.
So it is a very time-consuming process.
Oh, certainly. Something like this, there's probably 60 hours in this painting right here. The sketch for something like this probably took me 10 hours, and then the painting would go beyond that. So David,
That's amazing.
I do the sketch, then I'll go and quickly do a watercolor. And the watercolor is sketched, but it gives you an idea of the shadows, the values that you want to bring to it. And then finally, you get to the finished product. This is St. Thomas Church, St. Thomas Aquinas Church up in Archibald, just celebrated its 150th anniversary.
Let me hold both of those a second, and maybe we can actually.
And while David is getting ready to hold these, Austin, the only time people, like normal people, actually run into artists, when you're going to, this sounds elementary, but you're going on vacation, you see artists out in the street,
Right.
painting faces or doing, like none of us really run into real artists. You are a real artist. And I think that's a credit to Lackawanna County and all of Northeast Pennsylvania. But I sometimes, if I'll go on a trip maybe to, let's say Atlantic City,
Right.
I'll get my wife and my son and we'll take a picture and they'll charge, like, it takes them 15 minutes and they charge $40. They make a lot of money.
Sure.
These people. But the real artists, like you said, you put 60 hours in that one painting.
Right.
Let me ask you this question. Since I'm interested in St. Ubaldo, you have St. Ubaldo, you have 3 saints, by the way. There's St. George, St. Ubaldo, and St. Anthony. St. Ubaldo is always in front, and they always win the race.
Right.
You know that, Austin. But,
Like a lot of races in Jessup.
like a lot of races in Jessup, right. But tell me, how many hours did you put in this painting? You said 60 in the one.
No,
So
it's
60
probably
in
60 in this.
60 in this one
60
here.
in this.
That's amazing. That's a long time.
Oh, sure. Especially, I'm a spare time artist. And so, you know, this morning, maybe I got a half hour in on that courthouse painting. It's down on the easel. Marianne lets me set up and just leave it there.
Marianne is Austin's wife, a wonderful, wonderful lady.
So anyway, you come back to it, but 60 hours may take you a couple of months to get back to it. When the weather's good, I don't do as much painting. When the weather is lousy, you're able to spend half a Saturday painting.
And when I look at the churches again, it would seem to me that you did the watercolor and then you did is it an oil?
That one's an acrylic.
An acrylic. Isn't watercolor extremely hard to work with?
Yes, because you can't correct your mistakes with watercolor. Acrylic and oils, you can go back and paint over it if you screw that up. But watercolors, unless when you paint with watercolors, you start with the lightest colors first, because if you make a mistake, you can always correct it by going to a darker color. But once a darker color gets in there, then you're stuck with it.
Well, these actually get us into the idea of the architecture, and one of the things you said sort of fascinated me, and I think we should pursue it a little bit. If most of those people in our audience were to go to New York City,
Yes.
the people in New York City would know their visitors because they'd be looking
Always
up.
looking up,
Always
yeah.
looking up. And you made the point that your initial thrust was looking up. People in our area, are we missing treasures as we go about our daily life because we're not looking up?
Well, isn't that true in general? That you got to be looking up. I think that that's possible, but you know, some of the things that we're doing here. First, I paint these. Then we go ahead and we make copies of them. Here's a painting, for example, of Lackawanna College, the former Central High School. How many thousands of graduates came through there? But you'll see I donated this painting to Lackawanna. They went ahead and made up a poster of it. Now the other thing we do is, in addition to making up these posters, again as fundraisers, and let me give a little credit to Panel Prints. John McInerney, he prints up a lot of these posters for free to support the charities and the foundations that we're giving these to. But these get into distribution. But the other thing we make is we make note cards, and we give them out as welcome gifts, if you would. And all of those note cards show all of these great buildings in downtown Scranton.
Now was this originally a watercolor?
This was an acrylic.
Acrylic.
No,
And,
you know what?
and this
You're
is
right.
a building that almost came down, wasn't it?
Yes. This, I'm sorry, the original of this is a watercolor, and we made a copy of the watercolor.
And we almost lost that building were it not for
That's right.
Lackawanna College taking
They-
it over and then actually redoing the
Right.
building.
They did a
So
super
here's a
job
case
of it.
where you notice treasures, and if we don't pay attention to them, there's always the chance you're going to lose them.
Sure.
Austin,
And
right.
just one point. Up at Mayor Doherty's office, there's about 15 of my paintings right now hanging all through his reception area. So if anybody wants to see them, they can certainly stop in. But it gets back to that point that you made, are people looking up? Well, the more they see these paintings, maybe they'll look up a little more when they're downtown.
Sure.
As I said before, Austin, we grew up together. We know each other all our lives. When you were a young man, I remember when you finished high school and you went into the Air Force. Did you know then that you had a talent for painting, or did it just come later in life?
No, but one of the guys I was stationed with was a wonderful artist, and I would watch him, and I actually drew some things and painted some things then, and he was a wonderful mentor, showing me what he was doing and importantly why he was doing it. Of course, then you come home, I had to finish college, I have 3 great children, and so for 20 years I was occupied elsewhere. And so it was only when the kids were raised and I had a little time that I was down in Florida. This is 1997 because I have one of the first watercolors, and it's have the date on it. And I started painting skies. And Florida has these great skies and clouds and everything else. So I painted clouds literally for a month or 2 and got pretty decent at clouds. So I decided to go on to trees. And after trees, I started taking lessons up at Marywood, over at the Cultural Center, and you know, one thing builds on the other.
Now, that's another thing. And David, after hearing what Austin is saying and seeing what he did, a lot of people who are going to watch this show are going to say, how could I learn how to paint? You said
Sure.
you took lessons, so
Sure.
maybe you could tell us something about that, Austin.
Well, first there's a website called wetcanvas.com that has all kind of DVDs and online lessons for painting watercolors, pastels, oils, whatever you like. But here in the community, we have some wonderful artists that Ginger Leister, Renee Emanuel, people at Keystone, other people at Marywood offer lessons, and you'll see group lessons once in a while, and usually it's very, very inexpensive, like 8 weekly lessons every Thursday for 2 hours for 8 weeks. You know, the cost may only be $80, $120, which is only $10 or $15 a session. It's as inexpensive as a movie right now. And art supplies are not that expensive to start either. So there's a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of tremendous artists in this area.
That's what I wanted to ask you, whether we have a really active and growing arts community.
Yes, we do. First, let me say Keystone College and Marywood University have outstanding, nationally recognized art departments, and the artists and the sculptors and the people that are related with that reach out to the community. Lisa Studios up in Tunkhannock does a lot of the reproductions for us, but they also support the local artists that are in our area. And so we have a lot of homegrown artists here that went and studied at fabulous art schools and have remained here. I think it's interesting that a lot of creative people are moving here now, moving to Scranton, moving to the Poconos, Wayne County. There's a wonderful art gallery over there that features a lot of artists that get tired of fighting what's going on in New York City or elsewhere on the East Coast, and for a very reasonable price can live idyllically here and still be close enough that they can paint here, they can produce here, and yet still go back and show and sell in the galleries of New York. And New York, probably New York and London, maybe Paris, are the art capitals of the world. And so here you can live in a very high quality of life area at very reasonable cost, and yet be within 2 hours of one of the major art capitals of the world. I mean, why wouldn't you want to live here and
Sure.
as an artist? Now, one other fact that supports that is art space. At the Lace Works, we are trying to develop housing and artistic space for artists. And some research was done by the architects, the national architects out of Minneapolis that run art space, and they went ahead and did a survey, and 90 artists responded saying, if this were available, we would come and live and work in Scranton. And that's a great community development tool by itself. If you remember, Soho was kind of a forgotten district in New York. The artists move in, and now all of those galleries, it's really an upscale area. So the artists couldn't afford it anymore. They went over to Jersey City. The same thing happened. And so what we're trying to develop here with Art Space is kind of a foundation type of thing where they come in and we'll be able to control those rents. So 50 or 60 artists won't have to worry about their rents going sky high just as they're getting their career going.
To have a place to work and a place to show
That's right.
as well. Speaking of show, I know you got a couple more we'd like to
All right. Well,
show
let me,
before our time runs out.
sure.
So,
Let me show you some of the iconic buildings, we call them here. This, of course, is the Scranton Electric Building. This is one of the most popular things that we've done. It's on a Gertrude Hawkes candy box as well. But you can see the pride with which we show Scranton, the Electric City. City Hall is in there, the memorial for the Civil War veterans. Looking here, this is the library. Libraries are having a tough time with budget cuts and everything else. And painted this painting of the library and wanted to show it as a warm, welcoming place. We have a wonderful library here. It's run by professionals, and they offer so much up there. And this has been a successful painting as a fundraiser for them also. Of course, the Everhart Museum, and this is just a copy we made of a large oil. It was just too large to take down here today. And then finally, we're going to end up with one of the celebrations that Scranton is probably best known for. is the St. Patrick's Day parade.
One of the largest in the country.
One of the largest in the country. Talk about community spirit when you get 100,000 people out enjoying that. And of course the cathedral is right there. Again, one of our iconic buildings downtown, and as the center for the Diocese of Scranton, something that literally 1 million people in northeastern Pennsylvania would recognize. This was a really fun painting to do. You had the bagpipers, you had the rest of them, but I also worked Sister Adrian in and Bishop Timlin in as well, because if you remember a St. Patrick's Day parade without those two just isn't the real thing. So this was a lot of fun. We ended up presenting a copy of this painting to the Taoiseach of Ireland, the Prime Minister of Ireland, and Bertie Ahern, he brought it back to him with Ireland, and here I was hoping to be in the National Museum of Ireland, and Bertie Ahern unfortunately had to resign 2 weeks after he went back, so I have no idea what happened to my painting of Scranton St. Patrick's Day Parade.
And I might add that a work in progress right now is the Lackawanna County Courthouse.
Yes.
And Austin, I asked Austin if I can get a copy for my courtroom, David, because I'd be so proud to put that in my courtroom. And where are you with that work now, Austin?
Hopefully we'll have that by autumn.
By autumn, that's wonderful.
I'm not going to promise it before then.
I understand that.
Seems like you got no shortage of potential subject matter.
No, and you know, once people see it, they ask to have their paintings done. I'm just looking here because I'm going to present this to Tom. I also do other subjects. This is just a little exercise. It's Desert Flowers, it's called. Came out very nice. But Tom, this is Judge Munley's home church, St. James Church.
St. James Church. This is where I was baptized, where I got my first Holy Communion, and where I was confirmed. Right in that church, and I
That's
never
right.
saw that before, Austin.
And this is a print of it, and I'm presenting it to you
Thank
right
you
now.
so much. On Live TV, David.
On Live TV.
I love this
There you go.
church.
And
I
on
love
tape, for
this
those of
church.
you who want to catch it later during the week, we should point that out. If you're just joining us now on this live presentation,
Thank you,
you've
Austin.
got more
You're
choices on ECTV throughout the week to see the show, basically at noon and at midnight for those of you who'd like to stay up late. I'm just amazed, as I was the first time that I saw some of your work, and I guess it sort of is a lesson to all of us that someone may be known for one particular venture, but may have very really a wide range of other things that they can do, and I just think this is really tremendous.
It's amazing.
And encouraging to others who would like to become artists, and certainly who would like to perhaps. I think the biggest thing for us is we are awakening more people now. Look around, look up, as you said, and see what there is to see. I think you ought to get a few of these out to the folks producing The Office TV show. And
Well, actually, the St. Patrick's Day Parade was done nationally on their 2010 calendar. The March calendar page is this painting.
That's wonderful.
So I thought I'm now nationally published as
That's
an
right,
artist, so I'm
Austin.
thrilled.
I'm getting notice that we're out of time, almost out of time, but let me just say this. David, we have to have Austin on again to talk about the Chamber of Commerce. That's another whole subject. We have the incubator down there. Is that
Yeah,
what you're calling
yeah,
it?
the incubator.
That's already filled up. That you can't even get tenants in there now. I think it's filled.
We're building another
They're building
incubator
another
because of the success of that.
Austin is making this city happen, David, and I'm so proud of him. But we're out of time. This is Tom Munley, the host of ECTV, with my co-host, David the Cosmo. And I want to say to you, Austin Burke, I'm proud to even know you. You're a credit
Well,
to
Tom,
everybody
this
that's
has
ever
been-
met you.
This has been a lot of
Thank
fun.
you.
Thank you for having us.
thanks, Austin.